How can governments deal with the issue of homelessness?
Homelessness is the most egregious violation of human rights. Homeless people live in the harshest conditions, without anything. They are subject to horrific violence, discrimination, criminalization, and stigmatization, with life expectancies far lower than the housed population. It is the government's responsibility to deal with the issue of homelessness. To begin with, governments must make an immediate and bold shift. They will need to embrace human rights and adopt rights-based housing strategies. A human rights framework has the capacity to recognize that homelessness is a matter of life, death, and dignity. At the same time, its central aim is to protect vulnerable populations against inequality and the conditions that breed inequality. Governments can prevent more people from becoming homeless. It must enable people to access accommodation by increasing rent supplement to match market rents, introducing tax breaks for landlords, so it is feasible for them to lease properties, and providing greater security for tenants by regulating rents.
Describe the conservation efforts of governments and organizations in your country.
Firstly, there are a number of government bodies as well as non-governmental organizations consistently working on the preservation of wildlife habitats. Wildlife must have places to find food, shelter, and raise their young. Parks, reserves, and other open spaces benefit wildlife by providing habitat, while also providing us with great places to visit and enjoy. Programs of those organizations have brought some of these species back from the brink through captive breeding and reintroduction programs. Also, you can always see people in uniform that represents their organizations. They are there to give pedestrians a brief on the crisis wildlife in the country are facing, and persuade people to donate, even if the donation is as small as several dollars per week, which is just the cost for a cup of coffee. Still, it would make a difference in the long run. Apart from that, to minimize the number of wildlife killed on roads in my country, road signage is being used on most of the country. Roads. It reminds drivers to be conscious of animal behavior near roadsides.
In what ways can society assist the unemployed in finding work? What are some of the challenges in doing this?
The job crisis is undoubtedly one of the most critical problems for almost all countries. I believe there are many prudent steps that government can take to reduce the level of unemployment. First and foremost, I think the government should build more learning centers to improve human capital to make the workforce more employable. Entrepreneurship and innovation should also be encouraged to create new products and market demand, which will generate new employment opportunities. Lastly, lower employment taxes should also be offered to increase labor demand. The challenges faced by implementing these measures are many. I think the main issue here is that it usually takes a long time and a lot of debates among policymakers in some countries to make a sound decision. It will be too slow to make social changes.
What are some uncertainties in life, and how can people prepare for them?
We all want to be happy and live a good life. We may have lots of ideas about how we want to make this happen. For example, with hard work, we can become whatever we want, but the problem is that life shows us something different. Life is quite fragile and uncertain. Circumstances change, things happen beyond our control, and we never know what the next day will bring. There are extraordinary events, such as terrorist attacks and travel catastrophes. On top of that, some numerous illnesses and diseases can invade our bodies. We might have an unsupportive boss, the economy might go into recession. In terms of how we can prepare for uncertainties in our life, there is undoubtedly a list of things we can do. Firstly, setting up expectations means that you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Therefore, rather than expect the future, focus on the moment and know what to do to achieve your goals. Do something specific and learn to achieve your goals rather than sitting and planning all the time. Secondly, Prepare for possibilities by learning about others' experiences and making yourself a list of what may come to you in achieving your specific goal. For instance, you can generate a contingency plan for any uncertainties that can potentially happen and their associated solutions. What you need to do is to ask yourself what worst can happen. Think about and find the possible solutions to the problem. Keep yourself prepared. It will help to make uncertainty a bit easier for you.
Describe the most beautiful natural scenery you have ever seen. Where did you see it, and who else was with you?
The most beautiful natural scenery I have ever seen is a natural reserve in my country, which I visited with my family about a few years ago. The place was surrounded by green mountains and forests. There was no ocean in that reserve, but the beautiful lake there was no less impressive and inviting than an ocean. The place looked so beautiful, and the natural smell of the luscious green there was so intoxicating that I felt like I could spend the rest of my life there. Besides, the calming effect of the beautiful lake on my mind and body felt like a supernatural experience to me.
Describe a quality of your personal character that you find important. Is this a common characteristic? How does it help you?
One of the best qualities I see in myself is my kindness to other people around me. I am friendly, generous, and considerate. While some would argue that kindness has a connotation of meaning someone is naive or weak, that is not the case. Being kind often requires courage and strength. Kindness is an interpersonal skill. Kindness is not a relatively common characteristic in today's society, because it usually involves devoting resources to others, rather than being self-interested, which means having more and more for myself. Nonetheless, kindness actually brings lasting well-being for me. I am always active when I see people in need. After being helped, people will appreciate your kindness, show you respect, and probably return the favor later when I need a hand. A sense of community is created when I am being kind to those who need help, and by helping others, I get a sense of fulfillment.
What are some causes of sleeplessness? How can a person try to combat it?
Well, as far as I know, stress, anxiety, illness, and other sleep disorders such as restless leg syndrome are the most common causes of insomnia. An irregular work schedule can also cause insomnia as well as excessive use of alcohol or illicit drugs. Speaking of combating insomnia, I think establishing certain set routines can help. Examples of these routines include going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, avoiding napping, avoiding caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and eating massively late in the day. Exercising regularly, and relaxing during the hour before you go to sleep and creating a comfortable environment suited for sleep can be helpful. Finally, if you still cannot fall asleep, I suggest you do not toss and turn all night. You can get up and read or do something that is not overly stimulating until you feel sleepy again.
Who is a famous person you would like to meet one day? What are they known for, and why do you want to meet them?
There are so many people that I love and adore, but one person I would love to meet someday is Scarlett Johansson. She is the most successful Hollywood actress of our times. She entered Hollywood when she was a teenager, and she has by far swept us by her amazing acting. Her films have grossed over $14.3 billion worldwide. The reason I want to meet her is that she has taught so many people, in so many ways, that if one is ready to work hard on their dreams, the world is all theirs, and there is nothing in this world that is unachievable, and one should never stop. Not only is she amazing at her work, but she has also been associated with a lot of philanthropy work that helps people around the world in education and better living facilities.
Whom do you most resemble in your family? In what ways do you resemble this person?
Well, due to a random combination of genes, I ended up looking like a cross between my mom and dad. I am softer looking than my mother and harder-edged in personality. I am less stubborn than my father, but I have cheekbones and a prominent chin. I have my mother's hair color, my father's skin color. I have a nose that looks somewhere between the two. I am of average height. I am not tiny and skinny like my mom. I am not tall like my dad. I am not overweight like my aunts on my father's side. I escaped the worst of the mental illness on my mother's side. I inherited my father's chronic kidney stones. I do not know how it works. I think genetics are weird.
In what ways has social media made networking easier or more effective?
In my opinion, technology has positively affected our communication and the way we make relationships and maintain them. Despite some adverse effects, most of us enjoy the positive things the technology has brought for us. In the past, the ways of interaction were limited. Unleash your imagination. If you want to speak with your friend, you will have to go directly to his house or send him a mail, which may take a few days to get a response. Nowadays, it is quite easy to interact with your relatives and even with the government and organizations either by emails, mobiles, chatting, etc., and I think that this has improved the relationships and enhanced them. Besides personal communications, official and business communications have also become easier. Email campaign offers a good marketing opportunity for business owners, and people can complain about a certain thing using emails without exposing their identity.
What are some noticeable changes that have occurred in your hometown or country in the last few years?
My hometown has totally changed in the last few years. Fields I used to go early morning playing with my dad are now industrial units. Where we went horse riding is a massive car retail park. Housing and other developments have concreted over the countryside where we played. The town center is totally different too. The old market has disappeared. There are now only multinational companies and a big shopping center. Even the lovely old wobbly building where I went to ballet has been pulled down and replaced with a conference center. Seriously, any empty space that existed within the town borders has been filled by shopping/living space. The changes are constantly shocking to me, and I really hope the government will do something to stop those changes.
What are reasons that some friendships are long-lasting?
All relationships take time and effort to establish and grow. A friendship is a two-way street of patience, endurance, trust, kindness, communication, and compromise. Some individuals have an easier time establishing and maintaining friendships than others. Some of us long for closer friendships or try to figure out why an existing or promising relationship fizzled out. In these cases, we may jump first to judge a friend's behavior rather than our own. Friendships and relationships are two-way streets, and not one party can take all the blame when things go south. Firstly, it is important to always communicate with your partner or friend how you are feeling and what you are thinking. Your friend or partner cannot read your mind, and it is not fair to assume they can read in between the lines. There should always be a clear dialogue between both parties. Secondly, kindness should be practiced on a regular basis and should be the foundation of our thoughts, actions, and words when we are in a relationship. Last but not least, you must be honest with yourself and with your partner. We must speak openly from the heart and incorporate objectivity into our words.
Do you believe military service should be compulsory? Give reasons for your answer.
Yes, I believe military service should be compulsory. Firstly, compulsory military service offers young adults a chance to learn a wide range of skills, morally, psychologically, and physically, which parents may not be able to offer. If teenagers enlist for the army, they will be taught valuable lessons that will be useful to them later on in real life. Secondly, it creates a strong defensive force. If every single citizen enlists in the military, it allows a country to be able to defend its land and its people adequately. There will also be enough trained soldiers to protect their nation and meet the demands of a conflict. In other words, a country that mandates compulsory military service will have sufficient protection at all times.
What types of subsidies do you believe the government should provide, and to whom?
Governments should make efforts to improve the living conditions of low-income families. They can provide free early childhood services for children from such families. Besides, providing free groceries such as milk and eggs will also be helpful.
Some people think celebrities are not good role models for teenagers. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
Although celebrities are expected to speak and behave correctly to a high standard because their fans will look up to them and imitate them, famous singers, actors, and other celebrities can provide unhealthy role models. Personally, celebrity influence on body image and substance use is often detrimental to teen mental health. A large proportion of teenagers compare themselves to images they see of celebrities. Moreover, almost half of them said that celebrity images make them feel dissatisfied with the way they look. Therefore, appearance is among teenagers' top concerns, teen girls in particular. Body dissatisfaction is linked to mental health challenges, including eating disorders, depression, and low self-esteem. Young women who consume media with many images of an unrealistic thin ideal are more likely to exhibit symptoms of disordered eating. Nearly half of teen girls wish they were as skinny as the models in fashion magazines. Besides, celebrities can have a leading effect on teenagers. Endorsement. Hence, many influencers advertise a broad range of goods. The associated problem is that not all the goods influencers sell have been tested for their real effect, and influencers are simply reading lines and get paid by companies that hired them. And in some cases, the goods can actually have an adverse effect on teenagers' health or other aspects.
Describe a time when you were asked to give your opinion in a survey or poll. What was it about, and what did you say?
When it comes to giving my opinion on them, I always try to avoid them for some obvious reasons. But, today, I would like to talk about an occasion when I felt that letting my opinion be heard was important. The survey I took part in involved collecting opinions on whether public smoking should have been criminalized or not, and one could just say either yes or no when giving his or her opinion on this issue. I found the survey organized by a famous national NGO of my country to be an important one because I also considered public smoking to be a severe problem for the city in which I was living in back then. In fact, in its introduction of the survey, the NGO concluded with various statistics that almost 80% of the adult males in my home city were a smoker. The NGO also mentioned how smoking had led to a gradual increase in the number of people who were becoming affected by respiratory problems one way or another. Even more dangerous was the fact that many high school students were becoming addicted to smoking. So, all in all, it was a dangerous trend for the people of my home city as far as their health was concerned. By the way, I was asked to take part in the survey, primarily because I fell in the category of non-smoking people who had graduated from a university, and my response in the survey was that I wanted public smoking to be criminalized. I felt really great about giving my opinion in the survey as it would help my city to raise some awareness against public smoking. I also felt glad that this survey would go a long way to saving our city government in its health costs, which could then be used to address other problems in my city. So, all in all, it was a great feeling for me.